This is news analysis coming to you live on Politics and Business Television, Abuja. I am Fatima Abubakar Oyibo. Many thanks for joining us on the program for today. The headlines. ADC criticizes Tinubu's charity proposal for National Library. On insecurity, federal government reopens state police debate as Tinubu declares readiness. Dangote Group denies ownership of truck in Enugu accident. On the foreign scene, Israel vows to inflict biblical plagues on Yemen's Houthis rebels. Details after a quick break. Welcome back. The African Democratic Congress ADC has chided the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu over her comment that she would support the National Library completion as part of her birthday celebrations, stressing that the asset is a national monument and must not be reduced to charity. The coalition party therefore called on the federal government to immediately take responsibility for completing the long-abandoned National Library project in Abuja, noting that such an asset should not be trivialized in whatever form or shape. It further expressed appreciation for her gesture, but stressed that the National Library should not be reduced to a personal pet project. According to the party, the National Library, established by an Act of Parliament in 1964, is a custodian of Nigeria's collective memory and intellectual heritage. National Publicity Secretary of the ADC, Bolaji Abdullah, says the African Democratic Congress acknowledges and appreciates the thoughtful gesture of the First Lady Oluremi Tinubu in drawing attention to the abandoned National Library project in Abuja as part of her birthday celebrations. He further buttressed that the First Lady's shown interest in the National Library should be used to influence upon the presidency the urgency of completing this project through budgetary allocations rather than a show of personal charity. However, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, has extended gratitude to the First Lady for asking well wishes to donate the National Library project instead of presenting personal gifts as she marks her 65th birthday. The statement added that the revival of the National Library Fund is central to the federal government's drive to reposition Nigeria from a resource-based to a knowledge-based economy. The federal government has called on the Federal Road Safety Corps and all relevant stakeholders to recommit The federal government has called on the Federal Road Safety Corps and all relevant stakeholders to recommit to implementing the Nigeria Road Safety Strategy to address persistent road safety challenges. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the call on Wednesday at the 8th annual lecture series of the FRSC held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. He noted that recent statistics revealing a high number of road deaths were alarming, indicating that Nigeria still faces significant road safety issues. The Vice President commended the leadership of the FRSC for the vigor and innovation with which they have pursued this course, adding that they do not yet have the luxury to celebrate as much work still lies ahead. He emphasized that achieving safer roads required both indigenous solutions and global partnerships, urging collaboration among government, private sector, and civil society organizations. Shettima stressed that road safety was a shared responsibility and urged stakeholders across all sectors to fully engage in implementing the National Road Safety Strategy. He reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to President Bola Tinubu's vision of making the road safety strategy a reality. He noted that platforms like the annual lecture series provide opportunities for reflection, accountability, and the adoption of global best practices. The Vice President also highlighted the government's ongoing investment in infrastructure, consistent road maintenance, and expansion of highway networks as key components of the broader strategy to improve safety. The federal government made a significant shift on the controversial issue of state police yesterday after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared the possibility of working with the National Assembly to design a framework that guarantees local ownership while ensuring political neutrality. Tinubu made the comment at the State House while receiving members of the Northeast Governors Forum led by Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum. The president, who commended the resilience and collaboration of governors in the Northeast, noted that despite daunting security and developmental challenges, the region has made remarkable progress in stabilization, resettlement, and social services. Tinubu's bold declaration signals the end of buck passing after years of hesitation on the issue of insecurity, during which criminal elements and non-state actors took control of ungoverned spaces across the country, turning them into havens for armed insurrection against Nigeria. Shortly after assuming office, former President Muhammadu Buhari declared his administration's intention to recruit approximately 10,000 police officers, emphasizing that the nation's constitution stipulates the security of lives and property as a primary function of the government. However, the proposal was never implemented and security continued to weigh heavily on Nigerians, particularly with the rise in banditry, years of Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, as well as kidnapping for ransom and recurring clashes between farmers and cattle herders. For many, it appeared the country was sliding towards state failure. Attempts by some influential figures to rationalize the menace, either as a tool of political bargaining or as an extension of the North-South socio-economic competition, left successive administrations caught in the middle, failing to address the challenge squarely as an existential problem. Stripped of religious and political undertones, the situation only worsened. The security of lives and property deteriorated to the extent that Nigerians from all walks of life began to question when and where the reign of insurgency actually began to beat the nation. In the meantime, the Nigerian Air Force says it has killed more than 15 terrorists in an airstrike on hideouts in the Sambisa forest area of Borno State. In the statement issued on Thursday by its spokesperson, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, the first said the operation was carried out on September 3, 2025 by the air component of Operation Hadinkai. According to him, the strike targeted an enclave west of Zua, identified through intelligence and surveillance as a hideout for fighters and commanders linked to recent attacks around Bita in Gwoza local government area of Borno State. Ejodame said the airstrike destroyed structures used by the insurgents and degraded their operational capacity. He further stated that the Nigerian Air Force, through the air component under the Joint Task Force Northeast of Operation Hadinkai, has once again demonstrated its precision, reach, and resolve in the fight against terrorism. He expatiated that on the 3rd September 2025, a carefully planned and executed air interdiction mission struck a newly identified terrorist enclave west of Zua in the Sambisa general area. Acting on credible intelligence and confirmatory surveillance, the mission targeted hideouts harboring fighters and commanders responsible for recent hostilities around Bita. The strikes proved devastating, neutralizing over 15 terrorists and demolishing key structures critical to their operations. The Sambisa Forest, a vast area in the northeast, has served as a stronghold for Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province fighters since the insurgency began in 2009. The Nigerian military has launched repeated operations in the area over the years as part of efforts to weaken the group's presence. The latest operation comes as the military continues counter-terrorism campaigns in the northeast, where insurgency and banditry have displaced millions and disrupted livelihoods. Meanwhile, Dangote Industries Limited has denied ownership of the truck involved in a fatal accident in Enugu on Wednesday. The crash, which according to reports happened around 9 a.m., involved a Hawa truck loaded with cement and a Toyota Corolla. The truck bearing the inscription of Visco Investment Global Limited was traveling from Aba to Abuja when the accident occurred. Reports online had suggested that the truck belonged to the Dangote Group due to its brand signature and claimed the company has now dismissed. In a statement signed by its management on Wednesday, Dangote Group said the vehicle was operated by a third party. It added that tighter measures will be taken to protect its brand identity. The statement further read that going forward, more scrutiny will be applied to the unauthorized use of the brand identity, especially the misuse of their logo on vehicles not linked to the group. The company noted that it usually refrains from commenting on individual cases but was compelled by misinformation. The group also pledged support for the authorities handling the matter. You're still watching news analysis live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, non-oil revenue jumps 40% to 20.6 trillion naira, says presidency. Details of this headline and more news content after a quick break. Welcome back. Now on to business matters. The presidency has said Nigeria is firmly on track to meet its annual non-oil revenue target. A statement signed on Wednesday by the president's special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, cited new figures showing a sharp rise in collections driven by fiscal reforms, tax compliance and digitized revenue systems. The statement was titled Nigeria's Non-Oil Revenues Power Strongest Fiscal Performance in Recent History. According to data released for January to August 2025, non-oil revenues rose to 20.59 trillion naira, up 40.5% from the 14.6 trillion naira recorded during the same period in 2024. The presidency said this represents the strongest fiscal performance in Nigeria's recent history. The presidency credited the increase to structural reforms, including improved enforcement, customs automation, and digital tax filings, adding that the task ahead is to ensure these gains are felt in better schools, hospitals, roads, and jobs. On to foreign scene. Israel's defense minister vowed on Thursday to inflict the biblical 10 plagues of Egypt on Yemen's Houthi rebels after they stepped up their missile attacks against Israel. According to an online post by Israel Katz, the defense minister stated that the Houthis are firing missiles at Israel again and that they will complete all 10 plagues on them. He was referring to the 10 disasters that the book of Exodus says were inflicted on Egypt by the Hebrew God to convince the Pharaoh to free the enslaved Israelites. Earlier on Thursday, the Israeli army said a missile fired from Yemen struck outside Israeli territory a day after it intercepted 2 Houthi missiles. The Iran-backed Yemeni rebels have vowed to step up their attacks on Israel after their prime minister and 11 other senior officials were killed in Israeli airstrikes last week. The Houthis have launched repeated drone and missile attacks against Israel since the Gaza war erupted in October 2023, saying the launches are in support of the Palestinians. Israel has carried out several rounds of retaliatory strikes in Yemen, targeting Houthi-held ports as well as a rebel-held capital, Sana'a. And for sport news, let's join Aroko Tom.
Good day, I'm Aroko Tom. Let's dive into your latest P&B sports update. Celtics Football Club has announced the signing of Nigeria international Kelechi Iheanacho. The striker joins on a 1-year deal with an option to extend. While in basketball, Thanasis Antetokounmpo is set to return to the Milwaukee Bucks. He has agreed a one-year $2.9 million deal, according to sources. Thanasis previously played for the Bucks from 2019 to 2024. Meanwhile, in international football, West Ham defender Aaron Wan-Bissaka has joined up with Congo's national team for the first time. The defender previously represented Congo at under-20 level before switching to play for England's under-20 and under-21 sides. His call-up comes ahead of the FIFA World Cup qualifiers. That's all for your P&B Sports News. I'm Arako Tom. Stay tuned.
And that wraps up today's program. But before we go, the headlines again. ADC criticized Tinubu's charity proposal for National Library. On insecurity, federal government reopens state police debate as Tinubu declares readiness. Dangote Group denies ownership of truck in Enugu accident. And on the foreign scene, we talked about Israel's vow to inflict biblical plagues on Yemen's Houthis rebels. From me, Fatima Abubakar Oyibo, it's bye for now.